In this video, I'm going to do a tutorial on how to get rid of duplicated code. In this case, the code is concealed because of a naming convention. So we have to be careful how we name things. And if we go overboard in naming things, we can actually conceal duplicated code without realizing it. So let me demonstrate. In this case here, I've got the BGN, and your BGN, so you have BGN data, BGN element delimiter, sub-element delimiter, etc. And you have the same thing for DMG. That's the same code, duplicated. Let's put that side by side just so that we can look at it. So if we look here, we have pretty much, so this BGN and this DMG, that's the same thing. It's just hidden duplication. It's hidden because one's called BGN and one's called DMG, but they both do the same function. So how do we get rid of this? To begin with, I want to show you what it looks like when it's cleaned up. So I've already cleaned BGN and DMG segments. I've cleaned them up and just wanted to show you. This is the before picture. See how long this is? And let's go to the first step in the cleanup. Here's the BGN. That's the whole thing now, and that's the DMG. How did I clean this up? Well, I created a segment. So segment has all that code that is the same in both of them. Now you'll notice here that I created an protected init. I will override that init. As you see over here, I'm overriding it. I also override it over here. I have to call super because I'm extending segment. Now segment, let's go look at segment here. Segment also has HTML. And so the segment HTML, and let's look at the BGN HTML. So the BGN HTML is still very large. It's because there's so much going on in there. So if you hover, this code here goes into effect when you do a hover, but your normal data is the same. So if you'll notice, this is pretty much the same. The difference is this div. I don't have a div over here. I can put it. I may have to eventually because I've just started working on this. But I want to get this factored out. The segment HTML is the default when I don't have a segment, or when I don't have the HTML with the segment that I'm working on. So in the BGN case, I do have HTML. Now, let's go and look at how to clean this up. I'm going to take that down, and I have test around everything. So I run my test, and I just tell it to rerun automatically, rerun automatically. And that's going to fail as I work on this. Now, DTP, I think I've already done. Let's double check it. So DTP is done. You'll notice there's some additional stuff specific to DTP, but it's not duplicating anywhere else. Let's go into GE. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to spread. I move this to the right, and I'm going to get rid of this on the side just so that we can see what's going on. Okay, the GE is already done as well. Let's go look at the GS. Okay. So GS has not been done yet. So I'm going to merge that to the right, close that. Now, the first thing I do is I go here and I say extends. Extend segment, and I want to import it. You'll see I get an error with the GS right here. Don't worry about that. Now I'm going to delete all of this. I have a group control number, so I don't want to delete that. And I want to delete that. And I want to delete this. I'm going to put a constructor in. Now the next thing is let's overriding my init, and I call the super init. These are not needed because that is, actually this one should be here because I'm going to need to have that available if I want to change it here. Now here, I want to get a number from the GS. The old one said from the GS. So I know that's segment number 6 or element number 6. So I'm getting it from element 6. That still works. I don't need this. I don't need that. I don't need that. So I get rid of those. And I'm going to organize my imports to get rid of that. Let's go back over here and let's pull in the HTML. So this, let's pull in the HTML for this one just so I can compare. So this one, pull in parsed elements, just get length, and the delimiter. Now I'm not getting any errors in the test right now because apparently they're not running, but we'll take care of that in just a moment here. So I'm going through the code, getting rid of everything that has a get GS element because I don't want that. I just want get element. And you'll see that get element is working just fine there. So the next thing I want to look at is my test. So my SAS is not going to change. Now I want to go into my test. I have errors here. And that's because GS data no longer exists, but data exists. So I want to change these. Now I'm going to have some other errors in here, right here. So I need to change this as well. And that should take care of that. So what's going on is there is I don't know if it's a bug or what, but the test will stop running because of cache. In IntelliJ or in WebStorm, you go into File, Invalidate Cache, and just invalidate the cache. It'll reboot the application. It will reboot your IDE and start back up. I'm going to run again. This starts the running. So the fact that I have test helped me know if I have a failure. So I have some problems here. So that failure is letting me know that I need to go in here and change this. And right here is where the errors are. So I need to change that. And so that should be good now. I still have some failures. GS data is still somewhere in the system. Let's see if we can find it. It's not there, so that's a problem with the. So what I found is if I go and I hit enter, do a save, and then remove that, do a save again, it will clear that cache, and now everything runs and I'm good. So let's do this again on another one here. So EDI viewer HTML, I'm always going to have to go in and change that, I know. But let's go to the next one. So HD. So let's pull up HD. Let's get rid of this one. Let me save this. I'm just going to commit that. So we're going to go through this again. The first step is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, let's bring this down so we can see what should be done. We need to bring in extends. And I'm going to add the import. So there's the import, got added. And let's clean up imports. And let's get rid of all of this can go because that's all duplicate. Let's put in a constructor. I don't have props, so the IDE, just put that in there. It happens on occasion, so just be aware of it. Get rid of all that. And so I'm leaving that valid there because later on I'm going to come through and set that. So right now I'm just trying to get rid of duplicated code. So element deliver, all that. So that's all gotten rid of. Nothing else has changed in here. Now I'm going to go into my HD HTML. Now you don't have to put this, but I strongly suggest it. Now you notice I didn't have this in there when I went to edit this file. So let's go back. See HD is there. I didn't have this, and what this does is it helps the compiler know specifically that it's this instance of that HD, or in this case, yeah, it would be this HD, but it's coming out of the segment. So this, and it's the parsed elements. Parsed elements. Get rid of the length on get. So I'm getting rid of HD. Now I know I can do a search all, but I'm not doing that because I want to show you each thing that's changing in here, just so that you can see. All right, so everything there has changed. Now I'm going to go into the spec. The spec is my test, and I know there's going to be several failures because HD data no longer exists. Data does. And let's go up here and remove this as well while we're here. So if you'll notice, I'm up here in the corner working. All right. So get rid of that, come back down here. Segment delimiter, element delimiter, and sub-element delimiter. Now you notice my tests are constantly running. That's a good thing. That's what I like to see happen. Now I should have some failing. If I go to the EDI viewer here, I have errors here because I don't have tests around this part of it just yet. It would be beneficial if I did. So we have a failure here. All right, so Pierre, this looks like it's possibly a caching issue. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm looking for the link. I don't see it in here. All right, so I'm going to do my little trick where I hit enter, save, and delete, save. Okay, that fixed. The errors are now gone. I don't know why I had the spec for the viewer up there. Okay, so that all seems to work. I'm going to clear cache and just bounce this one time more. So what I'm trying to do here is I want to make sure that I'm clean. I'm going to run my test. And I want to make sure that the tests are clean, no failing. Everything is looking good. And this is the HD, so let's go down here and look for HD. There's HD. All right, so all those tests are good. And then I go ahead and just save that. We got the HD. Let's look at the IEA now. So let's pull up the IDEA. I'm going to move that to the right. I'm going to import that. So now I'm going to go and delete this. There's interchange control number. I want to leave that in there. Get rid of that. Get rid of those things. Put in my constructor. And I got to call super. Whenever you extend something, you always need to have a constructor and call super. Now, override. And now when you're overriding something in your super, in this case, I'm overriding the init method in segment. I don't need to call it, but I do want to call it because there's things in the init that is duplicated code. I don't want to have to call it here as well. I would rather just call it there and be done with it. And so now this is part of my validity checker. And this is so what I was doing here is the IEA was a string array. I could get the same value by doing get element and get number 2 in this case, and parse that to a number. And get rid of this. No, I need that because that, okay, so that one has IEA on it. It's specific. It's not duplicated anywhere. It's only going to be in here, so I need to leave that one alone. So I'm going down in here, getting rid of this code. It's duplicated. Now I got to go to this is ISA. I got to go to my HTML. And in the HTML, I got to get rid of anything that has IEA in it, unless it is specific. So nothing should be specific to this segment here. And parsed elements. So many things, it's easy to forget what you're doing where. So everything here. So the IEA only has 2 elements, 1 and 2. So that's a quick and easy one. Now I need to go into the test. So I'm going to pull up the test here. And I see I got failures already. And I know this is going to need to change. This, what I'm doing here in the before each, is what allows me to do this without having to mock up HTML in my test here and all this kind of stuff. So I'm actually testing the HTML component as HTML. And what I'm doing is this component ref, let's see. Oh, it's in the input is in the segment. Let's take a look at that real quick. So this is a signal. It's an input signal. And so I'm able to set that right there without having to mock up actual HTML in here and do all that. I just do this. Makes it so much easier. That's something that I really appreciate, and I really like the fact that I don't have to go and mess around with everything. Also reduces the amount of code I have to write for my test. All right, so everything's good there. Now I know that down in here in my viewer, I need to fix this. Right there's the error. So I go in here, I just go through this. So these inputs, signal inputs, are coming from segment. It's not coming from IEA, which is good because that was duplicated code. So you can see where I've got, let's see, here's SE. I have to go through the SE still. I have to go through the ST still. The GS I've done. ISA I still have to do. So you can see I just go through this one thing at a time and go through it all and make sure that I have all my tests running. So I'm going to go into a test here. I'm going to hit enter, save, delete, save. That should restart. If it doesn't restart, then I'm going to clear cache. It restarted, everything ran. 426 tests ran in 8.1 or 812 milliseconds. That's very fast. So I'm going to commit that. So if I go in now, and let's find another one. So here's INS. So INS has all this duplicated code. Now, this is unique to the INS. These are some fields that need to be here, but there's also fields that don't need to be here. So let's go through this one. Just going to move this one to the right. And I'm going to need the HTML and the spec file. All right, so let's go through the INSTS file first. Extends. So notice it comes up in my window here. So I just hit enter and it will accept this as my import. And my import now has that up here. See the green thing that says it was just added. This blue says it was modified. It's one of the reasons I like this editor. All right, so now I'm going to delete all these. All of this is duplicated code. I'm going to go down under this. I'm going to create a constructor here. There's my super automatically inserted. I'm going to get rid of these because I don't need, so the on init and on changes, those should be done. And I didn't check that. That should be done in my segment. Yes, it is. On init and on changes. The reason I'm doing on init and on changes is when I was testing, I found that my data didn't get updated, or my data did not update the parsed elements. And so the on changes is what was necessary for that. So this is my initializer, and this is anytime I change my data, or if I change any of these signals, these input signals, if I change any of them, this will get triggered. So that's why that is done. So now here, I need to say override. And I'm going to call the super. Get rid of those because that's duplicated. I'm going to keep that because eventually I do want to use that in my code. All right, so the pieces up here, these are arrays of objects, so code and description. And I use that, let me show you. So I use that right in here. So get INS01 description. And let's get rid of this because we don't need all that. So it allows me to do some injection in my, when I do the call out, so this is hidden normally. When I hover over this goes active. So it says display block. It's display none by default, but I go to display block and it will actually show everything. Let's go here, parsed elements. Parsed elements, because it's not just one element, it's multiple elements. So if you notice, my editor has these red lines that tells me where there's an error. I can just click there and it'll take me right to it. So you'll notice I'm leaving these because this works with these methods down here, and those methods are actually calling these. Now there's multiple ways you can do the same thing in IT. So if you see something that you don't agree with, that's all right, because you may learn something from the way the other person's done it. I learn from a lot of different people, their input. When I go to defend something, the reason I did something a certain way, I will learn something because I may be doing something that's unnecessary. And when I learn that, I'm going to make a change. Now, one of the commenters commented on one of my shorts where I was talking about the hidden, and they said that I should be passing this into the constructor. And in Java, that's how I would do it. I would pass it into the constructor, but since this is HTML, I don't do it that way. But they got me to thinking I could actually, using a builder pattern, I could pass some of these things into an object constructor. The constructor would be part of a builder, and then it would output what I needed. All right, so, but I read the comments and I try to figure out if there's something that I'm missing or something I did wrong. Because if I did something wrong, I need you guys to tell me. It's kind of scary when you're not having any reviews. I appreciate reviews. And anytime you can give me a review on anything I've done, point me in a different direction or confirm what I'm saying, that is very helpful. But when you're in your job and you're doing this, that's something that you depend on. You depend on other people's input. All right, So this is the INS. And this is the spec. So now I'm going through and changing my test now. Okay, so I'm using the keyboard, not the mouse, because I can get around faster this way. All right. Now I know that this is going to have a failure, and there it is. So I go in here now. And the reason this is failing is because I changed the signature of the input signals. And because I changed that, I know I'm going to have to change the code in here. All right. Got an error in here. Let's see. It's not seeing this. INS. Here's the same. All right, so let me invalidate cache. Looks like something went wrong in the cache there. So the IDE tracks everything. This IDE is extremely powerful. Visual Studio Code is a great IDE as well. I have used it. I like this IDE, and this is just a preference. And my preference is WebStorm. I like the way WebStorm works. And it's got its flaws, it's got its bugs, but in spite of those, I still like it. 426 tests. So I'm not adding any test. My number of tests is not changing. It's just my tests I'm running constantly because I want to see if there's anything I'm doing that's causing a failure. So I can get through here pretty quickly now and make these changes. All right, so I hope this has helped. The things I'm doing is I'm going in, I'm doing the extend, I'm getting rid of the on on init and on init and on changes. So I look up, I see it up here, and also the input. So I got to organize imports. In WebStorm, the command is Control-Alt-O. I've got mine set up so that Control-Alt-L, which also cleans up the code, also calls the organize imports. So Control-Alt-O gets rid of the imports. So if you have any questions about anything, please leave it in the comments. I will try to put this in GitHub so you can take a look at it and see what I'm doing and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I hope this helps.